What's up everybody and welcome back to the channel. You know, I was looking through the emails today and there are surprisingly a lot of good ones, but there is one that's really fishy, and I've got some questions. Once again, welcome back and thank you guys so much for being a part of this. Now, I am coming off a bit of a cold, so don't mind my voice. But like I said, we've got a lot of really good tattoos to go through, and today's all about artists. So let's check out this first one sent in by Jaris. And Jaris, you've mentioned you've been tattooing for about 3 years, and you sent over this micro-portrait of Michael Corleone. And my first impressions are, this thing is technically done pretty well. You've got some very nice texture in this thing, and some really nice shapes. And I also like where this is placed on the arm. When it comes to the smaller details, like the facial features and parts of the jacket, I can tell you took your time, because the lines are sharp and you nailed the values when it comes to light and shadow. When it comes to micro-portraits, I think that's one of the biggest humps that people struggle to get over, is knowing where to put that contrast. Because there's a common misconception when doing small portraits that you're taking a large one and shrinking it down and packing all that same detail into something smaller. But that's just not true. Because if you put in all that detail, you're just gonna end up with a muddy mess a few years down the road. You wanna make sure that these things heal with enough contrast and just enough detail to make sure that they don't blur out over time. When you look at the hair, you can tell that you left just enough separation in there to make sure that it still looks good when it heals. And speaking of healed, you did send that over, so let's check that out. Now this does look mid-healed, but you can tell that there still is enough skin tone showing through that hair where it doesn't look like a big black blob. And when you look at the face, you did lose some detail, but again, you used enough contrast to make sure that it still looks good when it's settled. Now I do have to admit that I don't really think this looks like Al Pacino, but maybe I've just got used to seeing old Al Pacino. I don't know. What do you guys think? Let me know. Either way, I think this is a solid tattoo, and thank you so much to Jaris for sending that in. All right, the next tattoo sent in is from Brett Haynes, and Brett, you mentioned you've been tattooing for about 4 years, and you sent over this little hand tattoo and a teacup. But Brad, I gotta ask, what were you thinking when you decided to add all these shades around that hand? It just makes it look messy. It would almost look better without those shades whatsoever. But the lines look clean. I don't know, Brad, I've just got mixed feelings about this one. There are some good parts and there are some not so good parts. I like the addition of the little butterfly tattoo on the hand and the little skull tea bag, and even the little flowers in the teacup are pretty cool. If I had to guess, I'd probably say you started with the cup, just because that hand and that bracelet just seem a little rushed. The cup just seems to be more technically put together. The little flowers that are on there are solid, especially when compared to the butterfly that's on the hand. You do have a solid shape as far as the circle goes in the background, and you do have a couple of nice red dots, but most of those look like little crescent moons. Or you didn't sink that needle in as deep as you should have. Again, this just feels like you're really not taking the time because those dots should have been a lot more solid. And the same thing could be said about those beads on the wrist. Those shadows that are in there just feel a bit lazy. Take the time, shade them out, and give them some nice shape. And don't feel like you need to shade around every little thing because it just makes no sense. To reiterate, I think you do have some solid lines here, but I do think you need to slow down a bit and take your time. Or put that time into something that actually matters. Like all that time that you used for the shading in the background. Put that into the beads, make those things look nice and shiny. Because you've clearly got it, I just think you're putting too much in some spots and not enough in others. But thank you so much, Brett, for sending that over. Up next, we've got one sent in from Sam out of Australia, and Sam has been tattooing for about 7 years, and he sent over this anime tattoo. And guess what? I obviously have no idea who it is. Big surprise. Either way, it's a solid tattoo nonetheless. You know, a friend once taught me how to speak Australian. If you say rise, up, lights, really quick. Go on, say it.
Rise up lights.
That's how you say razor blades. Rise up lights. Get it? Let's talk about those lines. Crikey, those are good lines. All right, sorry, I'm knocking it off. I really love the multiple line weights that you have running throughout this entire tattoo. You've got some nice thin ones, you've got some nice thick ones to carry the entire tattoo, and they just work well together. If we stripped away all the color and shading out of this tattoo, the line weights themselves would balance this thing out. They're just very well placed and intentional. It would still be a great tattoo to look at even if it had no color whatsoever. But I'm glad those colors are there, because I love the way that you have those dark blues against those light blues, those dark pinks against those light pinks. You've captured some very nice contrast here. And you know light blue is my arch enemy. So seeing you tattoo that blue so well is just making me a bit envious. I imagine the eye color is original from whatever anime this is from, but again, you nailed it. I just love that they're two different colors. It adds to that contrast, and you did it very well. Also, the mechanical side of her, I think you did very well, and that thing on her chest, I don't know what it is. It's gross. I love it. But you should probably get tested. If I was being nitpicky, the one area that I think got a little bit away from you is that black shading up to the right of her bun. It just seems to go out a bit further than the other areas, and I feel like you made it a hair too long. But other than that, super solid tattoo, and I'm happy to see it. Thank you so much, Sam, for sending that over. Real quick, I want to take a break and give a shout out to all the homies over at Mad Rabbit and homettes. They are a tattoo aftercare company that has everything you need for before, during, or after your tattoo session. And if you haven't tried them out yet, head on over to madrabbit.com and check out all their amazing products. And be sure to use code PONY20 to save 20% off of your entire order. All right, let's get back to it. Hi Pony, my name is Sebastian and I am a tattoo artist from Poland. I have been tattooing for 3 years. I am moving toward realism. Could you show me what I could fix in my work? Thanks. Well, Sebastian, my suggestion would be to stop using AI. And although I'm not 100% certain this is AI, I am 99% sure. You can definitely tell there's some chicanery going on. As a matter of fact, the shades of this tattoo are going over the necklace. Did you tattoo the necklace as well? I mean, it's a cool design, I'll give you that. But if you're trying to pass this off as an actual tattoo or be an honest tattooer, you're fooling no one. The dark shaded sky that surrounds that tower is just completely unrealistic. The skin everywhere is just too perfect. Well, except for her elbow. I mean, if you look at her nose and mouth, that's just not an actual human being. Now, had you asked me how to improve this design, that would be one thing. But looking through your Instagram page, you're just trying to pass these off as actual tattoos. This one says, arm tattoo I made at an event in Warsaw. Okay. I don't know what the purpose of this is, if you're trying to just scam people or what. I don't know if you expected me to say what an amazing job you did and for people to go follow you, to build your following just for you to take deposits from them, or what. Because I've seen other Instagrams out there that post AI images, but they clearly state that they're AI images. But you're going all in, telling people what size needles you used, how long it took you, and where you made them. And again, I could be wrong. I doubt it. I don't know, guys, let me know what you think. It also seems very peculiar that you made this account about a month ago. I also find it humorous that your profile picture is AI generated. I'd love for you to prove me wrong. Stand next to one of these tattoos in a video and send it over. Until then, the best critique I could give you is do an actual tattoo. All right, up next we've got one sent in from Geanine out of Brazil. And Geanine, you said you've been tattooing for about a year now. You sent over this cute little skull spider thing that's pretty solid, but there are some things I want to point out. The first thing is the perspective issues that you have going on with the teeth and the horns. When we look at the teeth, the one sitting in the front is a little bit bigger, which makes sense. But when we go up to the horns, they're the exact same size, which doesn't make a whole lot of sense. If you look at the bridge of the nose, we can tell that the skull is turned a bit to the right, which would mean everything on our right should be a little bit bigger, since it is closer to the viewer. So there is some perspective issues that are just really messing with my eyes. If you would have made that horn on the right a bit bigger and moved it a little closer, I think it would have made a lot more sense. And although I do like the colors that you used in the spider, I don't like the colors so much that you used in the skull. The yellow is just getting muddied up by that blue, and it's not really giving that glow that I think you're going for. And I would have liked to seen some variation in those spider legs, not just all tucked underneath the skull like he's dead. Bring that thing to life. Have one leg hanging out the side and another one reaching up, or something. Just give it some kind of variation. All that being said, I do think your line work for the most part is pretty good. And I like those little details like the hair sticking out in between the legs. It does add some extra texture and just gives it a little bit of flair. But those horns kill me. I'm also curious about that black smoke coming out of its ass or head of the skull. Is it a web? Is it gas? Your guess is as good as mine. One last thing, I would love to see some skin breaks in this tattoo, especially in the spider's legs and in the skull. It would have just left it a bit cleaner and a lot more dynamic. Plus, it probably would have saved you a little time. And ink. But for a year in, really not too bad. Keep up the good work, Geanine, and thank you so much for sending that over. All right, that's going to wrap it up for the critiques this week, but I do want to bring up my favorite tattoo of the episode, which was this anime tattoo sent in by Sam out of Australia. Now, Sam, we see a lot of anime tattoos on this channel, and most of them are not so great. But I really think you hit a home run with this one. Because between the lines, color saturation, and contrast, this thing is top notch from top to bottom. You definitely know how to punch these things in, and this is one tattoo that I would love to wear, even though I have no idea who the f it is. But kudos, Sam, and congratulations once again. Keep up the good work, and thank you so much for sending that in. All right, now that's gonna be it for the critiques this week, but before we go, you know we gotta put a spotlight on an artist who I think you should all be following. And that artist is Jose Pulido out of Dallas, Fort Worth. And Jose's work is all over the place, in the best of ways. It seems like he can really nail neo-traditional, realism, new school. He can do it all. Ink Masters really should be tracking this guy down because his versatility is impressive. His line work, his color saturation, and his composition are all something to take note of. And something else to take note of is how he built his Instagram portfolio. You'll notice when scrolling through his grid that he's got his drawings on the left, that blend seamlessly with the zoomed in tattoo in the middle, that blends seamlessly with the zoomed out version on the right. To me, that just shows that he's really paying attention to detail. And if he's putting that much attention to detail on his Instagram, you know he's putting it in his work as well. I don't know, he just has a really unique portfolio filled with amazing work, and I wanted to share it with you guys. So do yourself a favor, head on over to his page, give him a follow, and let him know I sent you. All right, guys, that's it. I want to give a huge thank you to the artists who sent in their work this week. And thank you guys so much for sticking around. Remember, if you'd like to see our tattoos critiqued on the series, you can do so by sending them to ponycritiques@gmail.com. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button, and as always, I will see you guys next week.